Hello, everyone. My name is Gohd, and today I'm very honored to be interviewing a very special space champion, Mr. Matt Gohd. Mr. Gohd is a CEO of Zero G and has been in the securities industry for over 40 years. In the past, he was co-chairman of Bluestone Capital and the principal managing director of Pali Capital. He also served in the role of Chief Market Strategist, advising billion-dollar investment funds on sophisticated options and market strategies. Additionally, he is a founding board member of the Starlight Children's Foundation in New York City. Since 1985, the foundation has provided education, entertainment, and support to children with serious illnesses and their families. He is an amazing individual who has changed the lives of many by fostering positive change. I'm so excited to be able to understand his journey on a deeper level. Welcome, Mr. Gohd. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule to conduct this interview.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, before we get into understanding what really drove you into come to the space industry, could you first tell us more about your typical day? How does it run?
So my typical day starts at around 5 a.m. West Coast time, which is where I am based. And that's generally, calls with various team members, partners, people that we're working with in various parts of what we do, interviews, press, all those things. And then it generally just kind of continues on, till it's done. And it's mostly a 7-day-a-week job, especially when the plane is in operations. There's a lot of things going on, and even though I have an extraordinarily capable team, including a chief operating officer that comes out of the space business and was earlier in her career, worked at Zero G long before I had even heard of it. There unfortunately are still things that I have to be involved with and take time on, and so my days kind of starts early and kind of goes through it until it's done, and sometimes continues on indefinitely.
Yeah, and when I was reading about Zero G, it's absolutely amazing how it's now open and accessible to everyone and not only NASA astronauts. So could you tell us more about, now that Zero G is more accessible, what are the company's future goals or maybe the direction you guys want to take the company?
So we've been flying, passengers, what I would call space tourism for a while. And we've flown some very interesting people from, entertainers to scientists. Richard Branson's been on the plane. Elon Musk, an early investor, has been on the plane. My favorite is Stephen Hawking, who I wish I'd been around when that happened, but I've seen all the footage, and truly an inspirational moment for the company. So, half of what we do is still flying research projects for NASA, MIT, and a handful of other universities. And these are research experiments, sometimes centered around how fluids act in microgravity. We have a lot of projects we've done in suborbital medicine on how you treat things in microgravity, especially for long duration space flights, how important that is. We did the first 3D printing in microgravity before 3D printing went to the ISS. We just did a project with refrigeration in microgravity, where we brought a specially designed refrigerator, put it through the environment to see how it would go. So a lot of what we do is still mission critical research for space. The other half is split up between consumers who are not quite ready to spend $300,000 or $400,000 to go on Virgin, or millions it seems to go on Blue Origin, but want the experience of what it's like to be an astronaut. And what Zero G is, it's that experience. It's everything that they all do without the view. There's no view. You're up on our plane and you're floating and doing somersaults and whatever in zero gravity, and it is a very difficult feeling to explain because we don't have something that we can equate it to.
Absolutely amazing how you guys are still able to foster the scientific innovation that's happening, as well as space tourism. As space becomes more commercialized, I can definitely see the company as well growing. It's very exciting. And so, I read that you were part of a financial background. So I'm curious of how you were able to kind of bring in your finance background as well as your passion for space and kind of merge them together.
Well, as a kid, I was like a space geek. As a teenager, I built telescopes. I was a big science fiction fan, Star Trek, 2001 Space Odyssey, read a lot of science fiction. And then, my career obviously took a little different direction, and it really just evolved into a very good problem solver. And one of the clients that I had that I worked on things with their investments was Zero G, and Zero G about a little under 2 years ago had some significant problems, and asked me if I could be willing to step in and try to sort it out and kind of rechart the future for it, and I did, and we got up and running, and then literally 3 months after I started, we had a global pandemic, which kind of shut things down, and then we were able to survive that and get flights up last year, and now we're crazy busy this year, and will be for a while. So I think it's an aptitude to understanding why things don't work, and working on taking unconventional approaches to solving problems. And not everything is about what you think it is at the beginning, and it's the patience to kind of sort out to see what the real issues are and then solve them piece by piece.
Yeah, and did you know that you could take your background in finance to go into a space career, or was that kind of just a thing that it just came upon?
That would have never been in my mind. I mean, I always loved like what all these guys were doing. I thought it was just the coolest thing, and said, God, if I ever had the money, I would for sure go up on one of those, space tourism things. So no, it's just one of those things, and that's it's also kind of how life works. Is sometimes the path that you're on is not necessarily the path that you're meant to be or where you end up.
Yeah, of course. And did you have any obstacles throughout your path that kind of redefined your position, who you are today, or was everything kind of how you expected it to be?
Oh, absolutely not. No, I am a absolute living example of the road to success is built through tons of mistakes and big ups and big downs and obstacles and headaches and heartaches and all of those things. All those things that you go through when you make a decision that doesn't work well, and things that you think should be aren't, all becomes part of your learning, and I kind of think of your tuition. So no, there's nothing that in my career that has been smooth, including this.
Yeah, and so did you have like a specific obstacle that you could share with us and how you overcame that obstacle?
Well, I think let's just start with zero gravity. The company had a significant maintenance issue that was addressed differently than maybe I might have done it. But again, the person who ran the company had run it for years and very understanding of the plane, and just made a wrong turn. And instead of, when you make a wrong turn, you try to get back to where you started and then kind of take a refresh view, kept on making wrong turns, and that led to a significant problem for the company and morale and things like that. So it was a lot to kind of step in and change the culture of the company, the way how we as a company run and manage our issues and interact with each other. And again, the company was kind of based on doing things a certain way, which were very strongly run. And my approach is very different than that, is where I empower all my employees to do as much as they can, and with little or minimal oversight. And if there's a problem or a mistake, I figure we'll figure it out and sort it. But I want everybody on the team to do the most that they can and work as teammates, than everybody trying to do whatever they can do without getting yelled at. So changing, I think the corporate culture was very important to do, and having people trust each other and consider each other as partners and teammates, as opposed to, I'm working on this, I'm working on that, don't bother me. So,
Yeah.
And that just happens. I mean, and again, I don't want to speak badly of the, my predecessor. She just had, she didn't come from a past roles where she had been able to learn leadership. And leadership is it's an ongoing, fluid process that requires a lot of, in some cases, very counterintuitive of thoughts. And being a strong leader does not mean being on top of people. Being a strong leader basically means that people don't know they're being led, that they're so.
Absolutely amazing words. I think, always instilling that collaboration will equal more fruitful results rather than splitting tasks up. It's always so important. I mean, whether it comes down to really high school projects, even, so, we always try to split up the projects and split up the work, but really trying to collaborate and creating that environment is so important. So I'm glad that you were able to recognize that and take the company in a different direction. And, as like a finance background, did you ever find yourself lacking the information you needed in like a space company? Or did you take like space classes, or were you always keeping up with space news, or did everything kind of, oh, you didn't have that problem?
No, I think from the day I started on this thing, I was drinking from a fire hose, because it's not just space, it's aviation, it's dealing with the FAA. It's about the most complex company I've ever seen in my entire life. So no, there's, the only thing my finance background gave me, or really more my Wall Street background, is the ability to make decisions with all the information quickly and move on to the next. And not every decision is going to work out, but the importance is making decisions and getting things out of the way so you can focus on the bigger and bigger and bigger things. So I think that was probably from skills that I had from my background that were more valuable than knowing as much about space or aviation or things like that than you would want. And the other thing, I like every day, learn by doing, learn by going. Listen, I have surrounded myself and my team with extraordinarily capable people who have been in the industry, and I try to, know as much as I need to, but I don't have the ability to know everything I need, everything there is.
Yeah, of course. And I'm curious, from what you've gathered over the years, what makes you excited and what makes you nervous about the future of the aerospace industry?
Well, I think what makes me excited is it's the cutting edge of future. And all the extraordinary people that come into it, and their passion, drive, knowledge, and willingness to take chances. I mean, again, if we look at what Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, have done and committed themselves to, gigantic risks and no assurances of success, and very public failure. So I think that is what this industry is it gives you that opportunity to chart and create these amazing futures, and then from it as well. I mean, major technology with it, including medicine and biochem. All these things are byproducts of this quest, for continuing our advancement. So I think it's I think there's obviously crazy challenges as we've seen, but I think it's an important part of our future because it keeps us reaching upwards.
Yeah, of course. And is there anything that makes you kind of nervous about the industry?
Well, I think the nervousness is I mean, you should always be nervous about everything, first of all, because nothing ever goes the way you'd like it to go. And you have to, and so I'm a big believer in not having, I would say, visions of how things should be. Every day, every point in time has its own possible outcomes, and they're not all going to be the ones I'm expecting. So I always want to be prepared for changes and how to address them than being invested in, well, this is what's going to happen next. That doesn't work that way. So yeah, so I'm nervous. I'm nervous that I have key people that could get sick. I'm nervous, that I'm flying an airplane that can break. I mean, I'm nervous, about the pandemic and its impact on people's willingness to do things. So yeah, so there's plenty to be nervous about, but it doesn't matter. The only thing you can do is just keep on charging ahead, and because if you don't, then you lose.
Amazing advice. And while you were talking, it got me pulled up. I noticed on your website you were saying that students from like kids from ages 8 and up could really be a part of the experience you guys offer. And was that like a difficult process to get approval, like safety approval for children? Because there's not much research on how microgravity could potentially affect certain age groups. So did you guys have to go through a lot of process for that?
You're not in it for long enough that it's going to have a material effect. I mean, you're talking of 30, 40 minutes between, a positive, pulling 2 Gs to 0 Gs. So, in the 30, 40 minutes you're on the plane, there's nothing that's going to affect you. It's an awesome experience. It's exhilarating. It's nothing like people have felt. Watching the 8-year-olds fly around the cabin is super fun. But watching, I mean, we had a a customer on the plane last year who had just gone into remission from stage 4 cancer. And this had been his dream of his forever, is what it would be like to be an astronaut. And we were able to facilitate that. And he said it was the most incredible moment of his life. And we get that a lot of people coming off the plane and saying, it changed my life. This was the most amazing thing I ever got to do. And it's really a privilege to be able to provide that and know that you've impacted people in that way.
Yeah, as young kids, many individuals dream of going to space or experiencing that. And because, the process to becoming an astronaut, you have to be very fit, very healthy. Really, the best of the best are selected. And so having this opportunity in like a commercial way where everyone is, accessible and allowed to be a part of this opportunity is absolutely amazing. I could just only imagine how exciting it's for everyone to be a part of it. And so my last and final question for you is, what advice do you have for young students in regards to pursuing their passion in the STEM field, aerospace industry, really anything, something you wish you knew, maybe as a high school or college student?
Well, I think it's important that, find something that you're passionate about, and that's something you could see yourself doing for your life. It's a commitment, and it's a commitment of especially aerospace and STEM, that you have to be comfortable with math. You have to be comfortable with process and leading things to the other, and logic. And also, you want to be an astronaut, you got to be, like you said, physically fit. You have to know how to take care of yourself, eat right, exercise, all those things, because going into space for periods of time, more than a day or two, definitely requires that. So I think you have to have, if you have the passion for it and it's something that you really want to do, you go all out and you commit yourself to it, and you do whatever you can do to put yourself in there. And you try to meet people that are in there and develop networks and things like that, like very similar to what you're doing, and things like that as well. And talk to people, and you'll find that people generally like to help people. They get just like I get a cyclic reward when people come off my plane, even though they've paid me a decent amount of money to do it, and it's my business. I get a reward when they thank me and they tell me how much it's impacted them. And I think people generally want to have that feeling when they help other people as well on what they're doing. So don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask people for help, and because people generally respond positively to it.
Yeah, the 3 words you said, go all out, are definitely something that stuck with me. I think what you were saying is so true. Using like especially social media as a tool to make connections and to reach out to individuals or mentors who you think are doing what you want to do is a great advice, because there's so many willing people who are out there to help. Like, I just messaged you on LinkedIn and you got back to me. It's amazing how you can make these relations, even if I'm on the opposite side of the country. So, or even opposite side of the world. So it's crazy how, connected we really are. So I want to thank you so much for taking your time, Mr. Gohd, and sharing your journey with us. It's absolutely inspirational, and it's amazing to hear.
Well, thank you so much. And I wish you really the best of luck. And hopefully at some point in the future, assuming I'm still around, I'll see you on a mission to the moon or Mars or something like that.
That'd be absolutely amazing. Yes. Thank you.